Connectra creates opportunities for people living with disabilities by providing information, resources, and programming geared towards greater inclusion and quality of life. Check out some of the programs we offer through our online learning platform, Connect Together, including our Service Mondays, where we highlight a local organization or initiative, Wednesday Chair Yoga with Bobby Seal-Kobiski, Thursday Adapted Fitness with Megan Williamson, Friday Rotating Dance Classes hosted by Janice Lawrence and Joanne Cuff, and other initiatives including presentations by the Disabled Independent Gardeners Association's Growable program and our Perspective series. Check out our updated programs calendar on our website, connectra.org, or find us on Facebook at Connectra Society.
Okay, you can start.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Please just unmute yourself and let me know if there's any audio issues, because I won't be necessarily able to monitor the chat. So anyways, thank you so much for having me today. I'm really excited to be here to talk to you about future planning for people with disabilities and the support that is provided through Plan Institute, the organization I work with, as well as our Access RDSP partnership. So I should probably introduce myself. My name is Liss. My pronouns are they, them, and I'm one of the project managers here at Plan Institute. For those of you who may not be able to see me, I am a Caucasian, non-binary person with long, medium, or pink, purple, blue, and green hair. I'm wearing a black tank top with a long silver necklace, and you'll see my at-home office in the background. Before I begin, I want to acknowledge that I gratefully work and live on many unceded traditional First Nations territories. My home specifically is located on the land of the Coast Salish, Katzie, Coquitlam, and Stalo people. Territorial acknowledgements are just one small part of reconciliation and dismantling colonial worldviews, and I aim to keep educating myself and finding ways to integrate inclusive and anti-racist principles into my work and daily life, and I encourage you to do the same. Please note that the information that I'm going to be sharing today is meant for educational purposes only and should not be construed as professional advice or recommendation for any particular course of action. So for the presentation today, I've got about an hour. I'm not sure if it's going to go that entire time, but what I'm going to be focusing on today is what is Plan Institute. I'll touch on the core pillars and the work that we do at our organization. I'll be showing a video for one of the tools that we have, which is called our Future Planning Tool. I'll then go into our Access RDSP partnership, share a little video to kind of introduce that as well. And then I'll be touching on what is the Disability Tax Credit, or DTC, what is the Registered Disability Savings Plan, or RDSP, free support that we provide with both the DTC and RDSP. And then I'll also be touching a little bit about the free supports and services that are available by our Access RDSP partner organizations. That would be Disability Alliance BC, or DABC, and the BC Aboriginal Network on Disability Society, or BCANS. I'll touch a little bit about some other financial planning tools and some services that we've learned about over the past few years. So that would be Trove and Momentum's money management self-paced courses, as well as the BC Disability Benefits Wayfinder tool. And then I'll have my contact information, the contact for the organization and the partnership. And if there are any questions that come in, we'll have time to get to those as well. So I'll first start off by introducing Plan Institute. So Plan Institute is the organization I work with, and we are a national nonprofit. So we were actually started in 1999, and while the majority of our team is based in the Lower Mainland of British Columbia, we do support people all across Canada in a variety of different ways. So our primary goal is to empower people with disabilities to lead a good life. And so we do this by providing educational materials and resources, collaborating on community-based projects, and engaging with a wide array of partners to host innovative initiatives for change and policy reform. So as I mentioned, our organization is now about 23 years old, if math is correct. And We actually came from our sister organization, PLAN, or Planned Lifetime Advocacy Network. PLAN came a little bit before PLAN Institute, and PLAN really was created by a group of families in 1989 who wanted to ensure that their children with disabilities would be able to have a good life even after they had passed away, especially as over the years we've been seeing that more often now children with disabilities are outliving their parents or guardians. And so this was really developed as a way to try to, figure out how to best support these individuals over the course of their lifetime and make sure they can contribute to society and have, all the 7 components of a good life. So now to kind of differentiate, because we get this question all the time about, what is different between PLAN and PLAN Institute. So kind of a way that I like to describe it is that PLAN, they work in a really large way, very in depth with a smaller number of individuals and families, primarily within the lower mainland of BC. So they may be working with someone who has a disability and working with them for pretty much their entire life. But because of that, they're only able to support a smaller number of individuals, but again, throughout their entire life. And PLAN Institute, we really wanted to take the learnings and the teachings from PLAN and all the work that came from supporting these individuals with disabilities to try to make that as wide scale as possible. So we tried to turn that national, tried to focus on education, policy reform, innovation, trying to find new ways to support folks with disabilities, getting involved with other partners and other community organizations. And so we do less in-depth work one-to-one, but for a larger number of individuals. So the 2 organizations really evolved together and continue to share a common goal to create good lives for all people with disabilities and their families. In essence, PLAN Institute is focused on the sharing of PLAN concepts and practices and curating knowledge designed to improve the lives. Although we're now completely separate organizations, we, function quite differently. We do still work closely together and try to find ways that we can connect on a regular basis. Oh, and so the core pillars at PLAN Institute that we have are innovation, education, and leadership. And I'm going to touch on each of these points next. So PLAN Institute engages in social innovation primarily through community-based projects and partnerships with one goal in mind. That's to help improve the lives of those living with disabilities. So on the screen here, I've got a few different innovations that have been both past and present. So the first that we have on here is being involved in a movement to create the world's first registered disability savings plan, or RDSP. This plan was actually created only in 2008, and I will be touching on that a little bit later on in the presentation. And our Access RDSP partnership was established in 2016. And so PLAN Institute and PLAN were very heavily involved in the advocacy work and the policy engagement to try to enact this savings plan. We've also been involved with creating a citizen-based theory of disability, looking at the representation agreement, which is a grassroots alternative to legal guardianship. Basically, the representation agreement is something that somebody with a disability who may not necessarily have the cognitive capacity or ability to create a legal will, or, for example, to have a power of attorney. The representation agreement is a way of giving some permission and control to other supporting people in their lives to be able to help them make financial and legal and other types of decisions alongside them. We've had various workshops, retreats, and learning initiatives over the years, which I will touch on next. TIES, online personal networks for anyone facing a life challenge. And in case you haven't heard of TIES before, that's TYZE. And TIES is a private, secure, and practical online-based application that enables caregivers to create, connect, communicate, and coordinate a care team for their loved one with a disability that they're looking after. We've been involved with the National Social Innovation Generation Partnership, as well as having personal network development support for more than 40 national and international organizations. We also have 7 affiliate organizations across Canada that I'll touch on in a little bit. And as well, we've got our online future planning tool, which was designed to help Canadians with disabilities plan for and accomplish their future planning goals. This tool goes through 10 different topics, and right now is pretty much in the majority, it's exclusive for people in British Columbia or Ontario, but a lot of the information is applicable to people Canada-wide. So we also have a huge education component at Plan Institute, and we currently have several different workshops and webinars that we offer. There have been other workshops that we've done, but they're currently on hold for the time being. So currently what we offer is our RDSP level 1 and level 2 webinar. Those are currently being offered at least once a month, but we often will provide those workshops to other organizations or alongside other organizations, and those can be customized, and there's no cost at all to attend or help facilitate or host those. We do also offer a wills, trust, and estate planning online workshop. This is really geared towards people in BC who are wanting to find a way to plan for the financial future of themselves or a loved one with a disability, and focuses on, all of the kind of estate planning topics. And this hour, 15-minute workshop includes about 30 minutes of presentation and then 45 minutes of question and answer period with a lawyer who specializes in disability law and legislation, and one of our amazing disability planning helpline advisors who has been co-facilitating these workshops for over a decade now. And she's also very, very knowledgeable about all of these topics. That workshop is currently only available online, and it is $25 per seat. However, we last year were able to create a workshop inclusion fund, which is basically a bursary where people who are low income but really could benefit from taking this workshop are able to apply to receive a full 100% coverage of the cost of this workshop. We do also offer a personal support network facilitation online self-paced course. This course runs for about 6 weeks, I believe, but again, it's self-paced, so you can have a little bit more time in between. Features regular meetings and goes through everything that you would want to consider when looking at how to create a personal support network, which is really just the opportunity to have somebody with a disability be surrounded by people in their life who care for them and will help them thrive and function really well in society. And just in their own personal life, of course. So this is much more expensive. This is probably the most expensive thing that we offer, and most of our supports and services are completely free of charge, but this workshop, which is already highly subsidized, is about $300 per seat, and this is really just to cover the cost of the workshop and the facilitation and the team time to run the course. However, again, with that workshop inclusion fund, if you or somebody you know might really benefit from taking this and is low income or finds the cost a prohibitive barrier, you can apply, and this bursary would be for 50% of the cost. However, in some instances, there is the possibility of getting a full coverage for the course. We do also offer a caregivers retreat, which happens once a year, most years. And this year and last year, we were actually able to have this completely covered financially. So we basically had people apply to join this 2-night retreat at Tinamera Resort on the island. And we were able to select, I think, about 18 people who were caregivers to come and enjoy this weekend free of charge. Other than their travel costs and providing a gift card for some of the more retreat aspects of the resort, which includes their spa and all those services as well. So we've already got that ready and set to go for October. And so I would highly suggest, if you're interested in applying for this next year, to please subscribe to Plan Institute's newsletter so that you're kept up to date and kind of readily aware when we're doing the next draw, as well as following our social media as well. Outside of the workshops and webinars that we offer, we also have a significant amount of resources and publications. These are different books and online downloads and different tools, and a lot of the ones that I'll be kind of covering throughout the presentation today. And so those links, just in case you wanted to go and check that out, as I'm not going to go through them in this presentation. So that's planinstitute.ca /resources, or planinstitute.ca/learning-center/publications. You can also just go to the regular Plan Institute homepage, and it should be pretty easy to find on there as well. And just for an example of some of those resources we have, we've got our questions to ask the lawyer list, future planning tool, our BC lawyers list, safe and secure worksheets, a webinar on planning for a good life, and many other things like that. So one of those resources, as I mentioned, is our future planning tool. And I just want to showcase a video that kind of demonstrates what this tool is and how to use it. So just in case there are some of you who are watching this who may, or listening in, who may be visually impaired, just going to go through a short video description. So this video features 4 characters. It'll have a blonde, short-haired blonde male who's wearing glasses, and they have a disability. They're going to show a short-haired brunette male friend, a long-haired brunette female in professional clothing, and a short-haired, more on the black hair side, female friend as well. The video will follow the person with a disability as they go through their new apartment, attend a professional meeting, and meet up with a friend as they use future planning tool on their laptop or mobile device. I'm going to go ahead and play that now.
Life is full of firsts. The first time you take a trip, your first apartment. Doing something for the first time is how we grow into the people we're destined to be. Take the future planning tool. When thinking about your future, you're bound to face something unfamiliar, like finding the right person to help you file your taxes. The future planning tool guides you one step at a time to do this and so much more. Step 1, from estate planning to personal supports to financial matters. You'll learn how to plan for a future you can depend on. Let the tool get to know you and what you need most. Step 2, it's all about what's best for you. Based on what you selected in Step 1, you'll receive personalized recommendations. Each topic contains a list of tasks. Think of these tasks as stepping stones that, when completed, bring you closer to achieving your goals. And guess what? You'll never need to finish this all at once. Just click on the button and continue later when you have more time, like after you're finished your favorite dinner. Step 3. Get to know the tool. Browse any additional topics you may be interested in. Or simply head over to the final step, Step 4. Personalize, print, or email your future plan to yourself, or even better, send it to a friend and have them join you on your journey. When a task is extra tricky, hop over to the resources section and find additional links and supports that help you along. You can start your future plan right now. Begin to plan the future you want to create.
Okay, so yeah, so that is just one of the many tools that we offer, and that can just be accessed at futureplanningtool.ca. And I encourage you all to take a look, even if you're not thinking about doing it all for yourself, but just to familiarize yourself with it. There are 10 different topics that it'll go through, including housing, filing taxes, estate planning, personal support networks, and many other things as well. So the other core pillar of Plan Institute is leadership. And so within leadership, we really want to work at having policy work and trying to find ways of making things better for people with disabilities in whatever way it makes sense. So this could look like working towards reforming laws and policies, creating tools and mechanisms to create and maintain a good life, and making it easier for families to secure a good life for their relatives with disabilities. One of the biggest, I guess, policy-related partnerships that we're currently involved with is Disability Without Poverty. And this is basically a coalition of several different organizations that are coming together to try to enact a Canada Disability Benefit. Now, this Canada Disability Benefit, if it was created, would basically top up pre-existing provincial and territorial income assistance programs for people with disabilities. And it's still very much in the early stages, and it hasn't been, approved, or, the legislation around that hasn't been created yet, but we're really working towards making this a priority for government. And so we actually have our next webinar on Thursday, September 22nd, and that's going to feature a professor, and is basically going to talk about, the Canada Disability Benefit. What is it? What could it look like? What are the important considerations for that? So I highly encourage everyone to come and attend, or to just get familiar with the movement and, find some easy tools on their website so that you can easily write to your local members of parliament and try to ensure that this continues to be a priority and gets enacted as soon as possible, because nobody with a disability should live in poverty just for existing with a disability and not being able to work. So that website is disabilitywithoutpoverty.ca. And you can also sign up for their newsletter, and they have different social media accounts on Facebook, Instagram. They have YouTube videos as well. So I highly recommend checking them out. We also have 7 different affiliate organizations. So our affiliates are basically autonomous and self-sufficient entities that subscribe to the core organizational objectives and values of Plan and Plan Institute. And together, Plan Institute and our affiliates form a mutually supportive umbrella voice for people with disabilities and their families. So just in case you're curious, those 7 affiliates are Partners for Planning, Plan Edmonton, Plan Calgary, Able To, which is formerly known as Citizen Advocacy, Bridges to Belonging Waterloo Region, Lifespan, and Plan Okanagan. And organizations inspired by the model of Plan and Plan Institute. We also have a list of those who also subscribe to the same type of values. And that is available on planinstitute.ca. And if you go under What We Do Leadership and then Inspired by Plan, that is where you can find that information. So now I'm going to touch on our Access RDSP partnership. And our Access RDSP partnership is one that was created in 2016. And so this partnership, sorry, I think that sound is transmitting from my computer. I'm getting some chat messages, but hopefully those will stop shortly. Actually, you know what, I'm just going to quickly turn off that. Okay, perfect. There we go. That was a bit distracting. Okay, so our Access RDSP partnership. This is a partnership that was created in collaboration with Disability Alliance BC, or DABC, and the BC Aboriginal Network on Disability Society, or BCANS for short. This partnership was created to try to educate and provide as much free support around the Registered Disability Savings Plan as possible, knowing that as of 2017, only about 37% of people who qualify for the disability tax credit, which is one of the main criteria to be able to open up this savings plan, have actually gone ahead and opened one. And we know that if we had looked at the total number of people who have a disability, might qualify for the disability tax credit, but for whatever reason aren't able to have that percentage would be probably significantly lower. Unfortunately, we don't have any more recent numbers than 2017 because unfortunately the government decided to stop doing their annual statistical review of the program, and they don't have plans on releasing any new information. But I imagine at this point it's still probably less than 30, like probably less than 40% of individuals, I would say. So I'm now going to show a little video that was created by Access RDSP. And this video will tell a story about a family that is making smart savings decisions and compares the different ways that people will plan for their financial future. The characters are illustrated in a mostly black and white chalkboard style of video, and the narration will describe each of their roles in the video. So I'm going to go ahead and play this now.
Do you know how to take advantage of government savings programs to help you and your loved ones plan for the future? Understanding the choices available will help you decide how to save, whether you're planning for retirement, setting money aside for your child's education, or if you're a person with a disability who wants a more secure and independent future. Meet David, Amy, Lily, Alfred, and Carol Lee, a family that's making smart choices. The Lees are taking advantage of education savings, grants, and bonds worth more than $9,000 by setting money aside in an RESP so that Lily and Alfred can attend college. David and Amy have decided to open an RRSP and will pay less in taxes because of their contributions. Carol wants more flexibility with her money and decided a tax-free savings account is a good option. Alfred has the most to gain by setting money aside for his future. He qualifies for the disability tax credit because he has a marked restriction in walking. This credit allows his parents to pay less tax every year and to open a registered disability savings plan for him. Alfred and his parents make regular contributions to his plan, and Alfred will receive up to $90,000 in matching government grants and bonds before he turns 50. He'll still be eligible for other disability income support programs. Because of their careful investing, the Lees have a lot to look forward to. In 15 years, Lily and Alfred have graduated from college and are debt-free. In 20 years, Carol puts a down payment on a condo. In 25 years, Amy and David are ready to retire. In 30 years, Alfred has significant savings in his RDSP and decides it's time to start taking money out. Alfred's RDSP helps ensure his financial independence and supplements the other income he receives through disability assistance and his job. The Lee's neighbor, Sasha, has a mental health disability. Ms. Lee told her about some of the great plans her family has been making for the future, and Sasha has made an appointment with a community advocate who will help her to open an RDSP. Sasha has no funds to invest, but the government will help her save by contributing $1,000 each year to her RDSP, up to $20,000 over her lifetime. Start today and make a plan that's right for you. If you have questions about the Registered Disability Savings Plan, please contact Access RDSP.
All right, well, thank you so much for watching and listening to that little video as well. So it just kind of highlights the importance of future and financial planning for all types of people, not only people with disabilities, but everyone in general. So I hope that was a good little introductory video on that. And now I'm going to touch on, what is the disability tax credit? What is the registered disability savings plan? Why are those two components important, on their own? And then talking about some other types of planning tools that may be helpful for you or your loved one. So I'm first going to go into the disability tax credit. And I will first start by saying that we have, again, those RDSP level 1 webinars that are offered once a month, usually alternating between 10 a.m. or 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for those starting. And usually those are between Tuesday through Thursday. You can find out what all of the current workshops and webinars that are upcoming are on Plan Institute's website. Should be pretty clearly identifiable on there. And that will go through the level 1 webinar, will go through the disability tax credit and the registered disability savings plan, just so you have enough information that you can actually get started with this and to touch on kind of some of the long-term considerations with that. And then our level 2 webinar is much more thorough, doesn't really cover too much about the disability tax credit, but covers the RDSP in significantly more detail with a lot of information. And we do have our free disability planning helpline service where if you want to speak to somebody in the meantime, we do have a team of expert advisors that can offer, really expert guidance, not only on the DTC and RDSP, but any disability planning topic. I think I have another section later on in the presentation where I'll give that contact information again, but just because I'm talking about it now, that phone number is 1-844-311-7526. And you can also send an email at info@rdsp.com. And you can also check out rdsp.com to find a bunch of helpful information and help sheets and resources. We've got our RDSP tutorial and calculator, and I'll touch on those in a bit, but just letting you know that this is going to be just a very brief overview of these benefits. So the disability tax credit, or the DTC, is also known as the T2201 form. So this is a national non-refundable tax credit that is applied to and approved by the Canada Revenue Agency, or the CRA. So with a disability tax credit, because it's non-refundable, it doesn't give money back necessarily. However, with a disability tax credit, you can actually apply for it up to 10 years in the past, and there's no age limit for the disability tax credit. While some of the benefits associated with the disability tax credit do have some age limits to that, including the registered disability savings plan, many of them don't. And so with the disability tax credit, regardless of whether you or the person you're supporting is a child, teenager, adult, senior, does not matter. You could be 0 years old, you could be 100 years old, and you can still apply for this tax credit. Now, for those of you who may be lower income, maybe you haven't really had to pay taxes, maybe you haven't worked at a regular job and had deductions or things like that, it may not be as beneficial for you. you. However, this tax credit can also be applied to an eligible caregiver. So this would be somebody who regularly provides shelter, food, clothing, or other, kind of necessities of life. And so potentially, it could be applied to their taxes, again, up to 10 years in the past, and that could be a significant number of savings. So for example, the 2021 tax year credit maximum was $8,662. Now, most people that we work with at least don't end up needing to have that much that they would need to pay back in taxes. So I would say usually it might be around $1,000 to $1,500 a year that somebody might be able to get back. But I mean, that if you're looking at 10 years can be upwards of $10,000 or $15,000. And so on its own, it can be really helpful. And two, if you are somebody with a disability who has taxes, this tax credit, it's not dependent on your income. So especially if you're a middle or high income earner, this could be something that would be really helpful for you. And if you have, taxes that have gone 10 years in the past where you've had to pay anything or where there were taxes, you might be eligible for a significant refund. So with this disability tax credit, it opens up many other benefits that you can get just by having this tax credit. So I'm going to list these now, and the only one I'm really going to go into detail on is the RDSP. But if you have questions, you're welcome to reach out afterwards. And I'm not sure if we're able to provide some resources, but we have tons of information about this online. So the other benefits that the disability tax credit opens up are the Canada Workers Benefit Disability Supplement, the Child Disability Benefit, certain medical expenses. You can also claim a disability supports deduction, so it allows you to claim more in medical expenses than you would if you didn't have this tax credit. There's also the caregiver credit, a home buyer's amount, the home accessibility tax credit. You can have eligibility for a qualified disability trust status. And that's basically if you are the beneficiary of a trust and there's this tax credit that you have, it reduces the tax rate of the amount of money that needs to be paid in taxes on the trust every year. Also a preferred beneficiary election option and certain education related benefits such as the $500 scholarship exemption. So even if you're not eligible for the registered disability savings plan, applying for and receiving the disability tax credit could be extremely beneficial to you or your loved one. So who qualifies for the disability tax credit? As I mentioned, the disability tax credit does not depend on somebody's income or their assets. It also doesn't have to do with whether somebody can go to work or go to school. Qualification for this tax credit really depends on having a severe and prolonged impairment. So really we want to look at this as, how much does your disability impact your life? And so for it to be a prolonged impairment, that means that this disability has lasted or will last at least 1 year. So oftentimes, people, will ask if they have a child who's born with a disability. Potentially Down syndrome is the first one coming to mind. So you may know that this person may have a disability for their entire life. You may want to apply for the disability tax credit at that point. But even if you wait a few years, again, because the disability tax credit can be approved of 10 years in the past, it would likely go back to birth if it was a lifelong disability. But it must last or must have lasted or is assumed to last at least 1 year or more. And the disability must also be severe. So there are multiple ways to qualify for the disability tax credit based on the impact of this disability on the basic activities of daily living. So these three ways are by having a marked restriction, having multiple significant restrictions, or requiring life-sustaining therapy. So to qualify by having a marked restriction, this means that you are very restricted in one basic activity of daily living, which means that you either can't do the activity, you need a lot of help to do the activity, or you take a lot longer than most other people to do the activity. To qualify by having multiple significant restrictions, that would mean that you are restricted a little bit less, but in 2 or more of the activities. The cumulative effect will equal to a marked restriction. And then life-sustaining therapy is when you need therapy that is required to keep you alive, and it also takes a lot of time. So just in the last few months, they recently changed that. So now it is still a total of 14 hours of life-sustaining therapy that you receive per week, but you only need to be receiving that 2 days a week, whereas previously it was 3 days a week. Now, please note that there are some activities that are not included under this. So, the time that a device such as an insulin pump takes to deliver therapy, that wouldn't be included. Counting carbohydrates, exercising, travel time to receive your therapy, going to medical appointments, buying medication, or recuperating after therapy would not be considered, but there are still several ways that it can apply in your situation. So those basic activities of daily living, I'm just going to list them out now. So those ones are vision, speaking, eating or making food, hearing, walking, eliminating, which is going to the bathroom, so toileting, dressing, and mental functions. And there have been quite a few changes to the disability tax credit form over the past few years. And so now with the mental functions, there's actually 10 kind of subcategories, and it really seems to be a more holistic view of mental functioning. There still can be improvements, as with most things, but we're really happy to see that there is some additional guidance and resources. Now, to apply for the disability tax credit, it needs to be done in collaboration with a medical practitioner. There's different ones that are certified to complete different of these activities in that section. So a nurse practitioner or a medical doctor can fill out the disability tax credit form for all of the activities, but otherwise it will be different practitioners that can do different sections, such as a psychologist being able to only fill out the mental functions category, and an occupational therapist being able to fill out the walking one. So just wanted to give an example of that. It is quite a lengthy process. So with the disability tax credit, once you are approved for it, or once you apply for it, it can take 3 to 4 months to get a response back. So we encourage you, if you're thinking about it, to maybe get started now. And especially if you're thinking about the registered disability savings plan, definitely good to get this started as soon as possible, depending on the age, of course. So now I'm going to touch on what is the Registered Disability Savings Plan, or RDSP. So, excuse me. So the Registered Disability Savings Plan is a long-term savings plan that helps Canadians with disabilities save for the future. With an RDSP, you may be able to receive up to $90,000 in government contributions to help with the long-term savings. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the RDSP does have an age limit. And so with those grants and bonds from the government, that up to $90,000, those can only be received up until the end of the year the beneficiary, the person with the disability, turned 49. So we really encourage people to start as early as possible even if you aren't able to deposit any money yourself into the savings plan, and you may be thinking, why would I bother if I'm barely able to afford things today? I don't have money for savings. That's okay. The RDSP can really benefit people who are low or middle income by putting up to $20,000 in bonds into the account. That would be about $1,000 per year for up to 20 years, literally just by having the account open and making sure your income taxes have been filed for the last upwards of 12 years, depending on your eligibility. And if you are able to deposit some money into the RDSP, you can receive up to $70,000 in matching grants. So that would be up to $3,500 per year. And usually if you're under the high income threshold, which is about $100,000 for this year, then you would have to deposit $1,500 in the year, or about $125 per month, and you'd receive that full maximum of the grant. So it really is highly, highly beneficial. And, honestly, one of the best parts about the RDSP is that it does not affect your eligibility for most other provincial, territorial income assistance benefits, and it doesn't impact any federal benefits. So you can deposit up to $200,000 in personal contributions. Again, you can have that $90,000 of government contributions as well. Any investment income that is within the account, we've recently seen somebody that has had their RDSP since 2008, and with some larger contributions that they had and the way they invested it, they now have about $500,000 in their RDSP. So within a few years, it can really make a huge difference and have a ton of money saved up for, the future of yourself or a loved one with a disability. And again, doesn't change your eligibility for things like the guaranteed income supplement, old age security, Canada pension plan. And for most provinces and territories, again, they consider this an exempt asset. And I can confidently say that in British Columbia, all income assistance programs, as well as BC Housing Services, consider the RDSP exempt. So you can have, again, up to $500,000 saved and still receive those necessary benefits that help you or your loved one survive and thrive. So who qualifies for the RDSP? So as I think I've alluded to already, you must be approved for the disability tax credit. I would say for the most part, that's the most tedious part of the process, although of course deciding where you want to open your RDSP and choosing and working with the financial professional can also take a significant amount of time, but usually the disability tax credit is kind of the hardest criteria. Other than that, you must have a valid social insurance number. This can be temporary or permanent as long as it's valid. And you must be a Canadian resident. So this doesn't mean that you necessarily have to be a Canadian citizen or that you're a permanent resident, but just that you are living in Canada and you file your taxes here. Now, as I mentioned, there is that age criteria. So those government contributions, again, can only be received up until the end of the year the person with a disability turns 49. Those can be received up to 10 years in the past. And we kind of call that going retro, as you're going back in time to collect those. And the calculations are a bit complicated, but if you have questions, please feel free to reach out afterwards. And so we just, really suggest opening early, even if you don't know too much about it yet and you still want to learn, especially if the age of the person with the disability is getting closer to 49, you definitely want to start that as soon as possible to at least start getting some of those free contributions from the government in there. And you must open the RDSP by December 31st, or the end of the year that they turn 59. So the reason why they have those two different age limits where the government contributions only come into the end of age 49, but you can still contribute and open the account until the end of the year you turn 59, that's because of something called the 10-year or proportional repayment rule, which basically in short says that any government contributions must be in the RDSP for a minimum of 10 years. Otherwise, any withdrawal will cause a potential repayment of those grants and bonds at a rate of $3 for every $1 you take out. So this plan really was designed to be almost like a pension replacement for people with disabilities. So it is something that, was meant to be a long-term savings plan. And so the government wanted to disincentivize people taking early withdrawals or using it as more of a short-term plan. Yeah. So again, very brief overview. The RDSP is much more complicated than this, as well as the disability tax credit. But I hope this gives you just a little bit of information as to see, why this is important and why you may want to start looking into this more and figuring out if it's right for you or somebody you know. So as I mentioned, there's a lot of free support that we offer through the Access RDSP partnership with the Disability Tax Credit and Registered Disability Savings Plan. We have free information sessions that are for individuals, organizations, and professionals. These are completely free to attend and free to request. And we will often be doing custom presentations where, we may be touching on financial planning more generally, may include some other disability benefits as well in that. And so please, feel free to reach out if you are a member of an organization who may want these, attending an event like this through Connectura, just being able to spread the word and get the awareness out there. We also have our toll-free disability planning helpline, which I mentioned earlier. And again, while this is kind of under our free supports for the disability tax credit and RDSP, really you can contact for any disability planning question that you have. We have a team of about 6 helpline advisors who are all either people with disabilities themselves or caregivers or loved ones of people with disabilities. And so they have expertise in most topic areas, and if we don't have the right information or the ability to support with whatever your question is, we can either find that answer out or refer you to the correct organization or person that can help you. We offer one-to-one support in applying for the DTC and opening an RDSP, and we would really encourage people to, make use of that, especially if you've never applied for the DTC before and you're really unsure how best to go about that. The advocates will offer free one-on-one support with this, and that will give you the opportunity to work with a professional and hopefully provide some additional information and guidance to your medical practitioner to make it more likely that you'll be approved for this. We have specialized support and navigation for Indigenous peoples through the BC Aboriginal Network on Disability Society, which I'll touch on in a moment. We also offer a free one-time $150 grant for children and low-income BC residents who have an RDSP. Those customized resources for professionals and organizations, as well as for individuals when appropriate. And as I mentioned, rdsp.com is a fantastic resource to learn a lot more. We've got a blog, we have our RDSP calculator, which you can play around with and see, if you were to open an RDSP, how might that work out for you, and what could you expect to have within your savings plan. As well, we have our RDSP tutorial that really walks through step by step what you can expect, what this looks like, and all the different considerations for that. And so if there's something that we don't currently offer, please feel free to request it. We're always looking for new opportunities and new collaborations with other organizations, professionals, and individuals, and just, again, trying to find ways that we can better support folks with this often complicated and confusing and, time confusing process. So now I just want to touch on the supports and services that are available by our partner organizations, because I feel like it's really important to share the additional work that they can offer. We work really closely with both of these organizations. And so I just wanted to share the other programs that they have in case there are some other types of supports that you may want. So Disability Alliance BC, or DABC, they are a provincial-based organization, so they only support folks in British Columbia. However, they've collaborated with us on some more national projects and workshops and partnerships and things like that, but in general, BC focused. So they have their Advocacy Access Program, which is available to help people apply for and appeal their provincial or federal disability benefit applications and with their accounts that they have. So this would be, persons with disability or PWD income assistance, persons with persistent and multiple barriers to employment assistance, or PPMB, as well as looking at the Canada Pension Plan disability, possibly others, but those are the ones that I remember off the top of my head. There's also their tax aid program, which is free tax aid support for people with disabilities in BC. They specialize in doing back taxes. So up to 10 years in the past, they can do your taxes and completely free of charge. I don't think they have too long of a wait time for that, although I will say with their Advocacy Access Program, looking at closer to a 2-month wait time. So if you're thinking about needing help with these benefits, then I would highly suggest reaching out as soon as possible. We also have an internal referral system. So if you wanted to, reach out to us and then we can connect you with them afterwards, no problem. DABC also has a disability law clinic, which is really a summary advice and referral service that's free, confidential, and is for people with disabilities and focuses on certain disability related areas of law, primarily focusing on accessibility laws, discrimination and human rights, access to services, accommodations in the workplace, post-secondary education, transportation, decision-making rights, removing comitationship or guardianship, the public guardian and trustee, and long-term disability insurance. So those are kind of their main focus areas. And they also, at DABC, they have the Right Fit program, which is a program designed to help people who are wheelchair users find accessible housing. And as well, they have their DTC advocacy and their disability tax credit tool. This online tool is absolutely amazing. It basically goes through what you can expect with the disability tax credit, what the types of questions that you would be asked are, what the form actually looks like, and can be a way of trying to help you understand it a little bit more and prepare you to speak with your medical practitioner, especially if you're not able to get support from an advocate or aren't interested in going through that process. All of these programs can be found on the Disability Alliance BC website, which is just disabilityalliancebc.org. And you're welcome to go in and check them out and self-refer, or, connect with us and we can provide a referral as well. So that's a bit of an overview of their other programs that they offer. And the BC Aboriginal Network on Disability Society, or BCANS, they also have a lot of additional supports as well. They are really kind of a one-stop shop for people who are Indigenous and have a disability, and their average time working with the client is about 18 months because they will support you through every stage of the process, whether that is, filing your taxes and working to get your ID, applying for the disability tax credit, opening an RDSP, getting that E150 grant, and anything kind of in between. They also support folks to apply for those different benefits, including the Persons with Disabilities and Monthly Nutritional Supplement Program. They have a support for Indigenous student learning program, as well as an employment engagement program. And two, they've got their Indigenous disability case management. So if you or somebody you know is Indigenous, I would highly recommend connecting with BCANS to make sure that you have all the supports that you can for your disability, that you've applied for all the different benefits, and that if there are things that you've missed, that they can help you through that process. And again, completely free of charge to use. And I will say for DABC as well, it's completely free of charge. So there are very few things that are paid for each of the organizations, as we're all nonprofits working together for a common goal to try to support folks with disabilities with the future planning side of things. Again, you can access all of BCAN's programs and services through their website, which is just bcands.bc.ca. They've got a lot of drop-down menus and things like that, and are pretty easy to connect with. So highly recommend connecting with them as well. Now I'm just going to briefly touch on a few other financial planning tools and some other resources that may be helpful for you or your loved ones. So, kind of outside the DTC and RDSP, there are other components of financial planning for a person with a disability, especially when you look at the fact that the RDSP is really meant to be accessed in the year that the person with a disability turns 60 and after. So things that, you or your loved one may want to consider would be some non-registered savings plans. So whether this is just a regular savings account that you have with your financial institution, having a registered education savings plan for your child with a disability to receive those grants as well. And even if your child with a disability is not able to go to post-secondary education, you can actually roll over that RESP into their RDSP. You would lose those government contributions, but you would still be able to keep all of your personal contributions and any investment income, so that can be rolled over into that. Looking at trusts, again, if you're interested in learning more about that, I highly suggest our Wills, Trust and Estate Planning online workshop, which goes through a great overview of that in as plain language as we can with such a complicated topic, or reaching out to our helpline. As well, looking at our income assistance programs that are available. Everyone with a disability who qualifies has a right to access these programs. And so if you need help with that, feel free to reach out, as well as possibly a tax-free savings account. I will say though, with a tax-free savings account, just to be careful with that, especially if there's somebody who's receiving provincial income assistance. And that's because the ministry treats the tax-free savings account, any investment income that's earned as unearned income, and it has to be recorded in the month that it's received and will be clawed back dollar for dollar on your next month's income assistance check. So just want to, put a little bit of a warning out there that it can be a great vehicle for some people, but if you're on income assistance through the ministry, it may not be the best option for you. There's also a financial self-help portal called Trove. This was actually just launched in September of 2021. So basically, this is an online resource that provides free financial tools, worksheets, and educational resources specifically designed to help vulnerable Canadians take control of their finances. That can be accessed at yourtrove.org. So that's yourtrove.org. As well, Momentum is a nonprofit. I believe they're based in Alberta, and they have free on-demand money management courses. These are all free, self-paced. They range from about 45 to 60 minutes for going through them. And the current topics that they offer are budgeting, credit, assets, banking, consumerism, and education savings. And that can be accessed at courses.momentum.org. And I'll just spell that out. So that's courses.momentum.org. And lastly, I wanted to share information about a brand new disability benefits wayfinder tool for people in BC. This was a tool that was designed in collaboration with Prosper Canada, Plan Institute, as well as Disability Alliance BC, had quite a significant impact in shaping the way this tool was designed, and providing information to kind of generate the information that's in there. So this resource guides you through the disability tax credit, registered disability savings plan, persons with disability or PWD designation, and the Canada Pension Plan Disability or CPPD benefit. So I have put the link on this slide here. We have a custom one because we're trying, as it's currently just in its pilot stage, we're just kind of trialing it out and wanting to count how many people are able to go to that site. So the easiest way to find that link is to go to planinstitute.ca/resources, and the link to that tool will be directly on there. They do also, Prosper Canada has also created a national tool. It's not disability specific, but it is a benefit wayfinder tool. So this could be used for literally anybody, and is a way of looking for benefits that you may be eligible for. And again, it's not disability focused. They're currently working on, hopefully over the next few years, creating a disability benefit wayfinder tool for other provinces and territories, but that's still in the early stages. So just currently the one in BC and then the national tool. So I want to just thank everybody so much for joining us today. You know, it's been a real pleasure to get to connect with you, and I hope that this information has been helpful. And, you know, if you have any questions, if you want to follow up, if you just want to reach out and learn more, request resources, a workshop, anything like that, you can contact us today. Probably the best way of getting in touch the most quickly would be contacting our disability planning helpline. So that phone number is 1-844-311-7526. And that email address is info@rdsp.com. And then please check out our websites as well at rdsp.com and planinstitute.ca. And yeah, I thank you so much for your time. I'm not sure if any questions have come in, but I think we're probably out of time. So just going to go ahead and stop sharing now. And please feel free to reach out if you have any questions or want any support in the future.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye. Take care.
Okay.